Hello and welcome to my channel, Kuromus here. Today I am bringing you the Eldritch Archer, a fighter specialized in ranged combat and magic that made a pact with a patron to further increase his powers. We will be an Eldritch Knight multi-classed into Warlock. We want to reach character level 7 as soon as possible so we get access to War Magic, a passive that let us attack after casting a cantrip. After this we will become a Warlock and obtain Eldritch Blast, a cantrip that deals excellent damage and can choose multiple targets. The blast will be further improved after we get our second level in Warlock, adding our charisma modifier to the damage done. We will also add a knockback effect to it, so we have more distance to shoot safely. As a Warlock we will choose Pact of the Chain, summoning a small quasit that can help us to frighten our enemies. This will render them immobile, allowing us to shoot them without a worry. We will also benefit from a couple items that provide arcane synergy, adding our charisma modifier to our damage after we cast a spell. Keep in mind, this build will come online quite late in the game, and you may choose to add the 2 levels of Warlock earlier at the cost of delaying your second attack. This is an option I do not recommend, but it is there. If you are new to the channel, kindly read the description of this video, since I explain my thought process and some consideration while making these guides. Let me know in the comments if you have enjoyed this guide, and without more delay, let's begin. Our journey will start as a fighter, getting access to Second Wind, our emergency heal, and we will go for archery, since we will shoot from afar. As for abilities, we are going to focus on dexterity and charisma. Something to keep in mind here, if you want to utilize the arcane cantrips, then you should have some intelligence, because these will roll with intelligence modifier. Otherwise, just go with constitution. Keep in mind, for this build we will mostly use Eldritch Blast and maybe bladeward if we get attacked in melee. What I mean by this is we will mostly shoot instead of using cantrips for attacking until we reach Eldritch Knight level 7, and then we get the War Magic passive. So for our cantrip selection here we go mostly for utility, Firebolt to just ignite barrels or anything else, and Light is a spell I really like as well, since it's very useful and very flavorful. Finally, for spells, if you want to go unarmored you can go for Maged Armor. This is going to be my choice here, and then we will utilize Long Strider or Magic Missile, since are great spells as well. Once we reach character level 4, we're going to get access to our first feat. And since at this point we are mostly shooting, we want to improve our shooting capability. So we are going to go with ability improvement, dexterity. I must say I'm quite pleased how this build came out, because we are going to have a total of 4 feats that I think we really need to make this build shine. Level 5, of course, we get our second attack, unless you have decided to go with Warlock first, but I think this is vital if you want to play this build from the beginning. If you want to have like a smooth progression through the adventure, I think it's great. Then at this point, if you really want to have the Eldritch Blast, this is a good point where you can take it. But for me, I decided to go sharpshooter, get that feat and get the damage going up. These paired later on with the arcane synergy items, we are going to shoot for a lot of damage. At this point of the build we have War Magic, so now we have the choice to do a cantrip and then shoot, or shoot twice, as we prefer. And of course the alternative to just cast any spell that we have memorized. Once we reach character level 8, then 100% for sure we go for Warlock. This will bring us a lot of versatility into this build, because we will be able to target multiple enemies and spread our damage very efficiently. Since we are a little bit squishy, I decided to go with the Fiend, since this subclass will grant us temporary hit points once we defeat an enemy. Here we also get the Hex spell, which goes great because we can throw the Hex and then shoot twice, which is also an action that we can do in one of our turns. Then we get our second level in Warlock and we choose our Eldritch Invocation. Here we're going to go for Agonizing Blast to add our charisma modifier to the damage, and Repelling Blast, allowing us to knock back enemies which is very useful since we are a ranged character. At this point I decide to take the last level in Fighter. We get to choose any level 2 spell that we prefer, and here, since we have our combination complete, we're going to focus on Charisma. This is to increase not only the damage of the Eldritch Blast, but also the chance to hit. At character level 11 we get to choose our Pact. I will go with Pact of the Chain. This is to get the Quosit that, as we mentioned at the beginning, it will give you the opportunity to frighten enemies, which I think it combines the best, since it will help us to keep enemies in place. At character level 12 we get to choose our last feat. For spells we continue to choose spells that provide us with utility, since it's not the main focus of this build. To wrap it up, we just go for Charisma. I must admit the two combats that I use for the showcase are a little bit troublesome for this build, since the enemies are mostly melee focused. But as you can see here, I think I did my best. I was able to nuke this guy down in a single turn, which is great, and then the other two fell off quite easily. So ideally we want to start with a cantrip, since this will activate the arcane synergy. Then once we have that activated, we are going to have, at this point, plus 5 damage for each shoot, since this will be our charisma modifier. Something else to keep in mind that I did not play properly here is that you can cast invisibility on your Quosit, so it will not get instantly killed once the combat begins. Keep in mind, even though we are not super tanky, we are equipped with a shield and a claws, we have mage armor, and on top of that we can use the shield spell as a reaction. So this gives us a little bit of survivability in case the enemies reach us in melee. If you are afraid of melee attackers, same as I, you can precast Armor of Agathie, so when the enemies hit you in melee they suffer some free cold damage.
But to keep going.
After killing the dwarf, honestly the combat gets very repetitive because they are all melee, so I decided to cut it here. As usual, thank you very much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the guide and see you in the next video. Adios!